You feel a sudden spasm deep inside your chest. Your vocal cords lock tight and then release uncontrollably. A violent burst of hot air suddenly escapes from the bottom of your lungs. It rattles the back of your throat. You make a loud and rhythmic barking sound. Your facial muscles contort. Your eyes squeeze shut against your will. Your regular breathing rhythm is completely interrupted. Why does your physical body force you to do this? You call this strange physical reflex laughter. You think it happens because something is genuinely funny. Your modern world constantly links this biological reflex directly to jokes. You link it to carefully written punchlines. You link it to professional comedians standing on brightly lit stages. You believe it is a product of modern intellect and clever wit. But your biology tells a completely different story. What if laughter has absolutely nothing to do with humor? Look back at your ancestors 300,000 years ago. Picture the harsh and unforgiving environment of the ancient African savanna. The sun beats down unmercifully on the dry yellow grass. The heat shimmers in the air. The dust coats your skin. Your survival depends entirely on the small group of people standing around you. You are weak. You are slow. You do not have sharp claws or thick natural armor. You cannot fight a massive apex predator on your own. You desperately need your tribe. But living in a tightly knit tribe brings its own immense dangers. How do you keep your fragile community united when daily tensions run so high? Your ancestors faced constant stress from extreme hunger and daily danger. The early hominid brain evolved to recognize threats instantly. A rustling bush might just be the wind. Or it might be a hungry leopard preparing to strike from the shadows. Your nervous system stays locked in a permanent state of high alert. Adrenaline constantly floods your veins. Your muscles are perpetually tense and ready to run. This constant vigilance keeps you alive. But it also exhausts you physically and mentally. It makes you paranoid. It makes you aggressive toward your own people. How does your body signal to others that a sudden noise is actually harmless? How do you turn off the collective alarm system before someone gets hurt? Neuroscientist Robert Provini spent 10 long years studying this exact human behavior. He did not study it in a sterile laboratory environment. He studied it in modern shopping malls and busy city streets. He meticulously recorded over 1,200 instances of natural human laughter in everyday environments. He listened very closely to what people were saying right before they laughed. His findings completely shatter your modern assumptions about why people make this sound. He discovered that less than 20% of laughter follows anything resembling an actual joke. People were not telling punchlines. They were not being clever or witty. Why are people constantly laughing if nothing around them is actually funny? Provini found that people laugh to subconsciously signal harmlessness. They laugh to establish a basic social connection. You laugh after saying something completely mundane. You laugh when greeting a friend on the street. You laugh when asking a simple question like where someone bought their shoes or what time it is. Your ancestors used this exact same vocalization to defuse tension in the dangerous wild. A loud crash in the forest triggers pure panic. Everyone grabs their sharpened wooden spears. Hearts pound rapidly against ribs. But then the lead hunter realizes it was just a falling branch. A rhythmic exhalation escapes his lips. This specific sound signals safety to the entire tribe. The false alarm is over. The spears are slowly lowered. Does your body still use this ancient alarm cancellation system today? Think about how you interact with your closest friends. You share a small living space with them. You share valuable resources with them. Your ancient counterparts needed a way to build deep trust without constantly exchanging valuable food. Food was far too scarce to give away freely just to make a friend. Physical grooming was the primary way ancient primates built these essential social bonds. Picking bugs and dirt out of fur serves a basic hygienic purpose. But it serves a much deeper social purpose. The physical touch releases calming endorphins in the primitive mammalian brain. It lowers heart rates. It builds crucial alliances. You groom me, and I will protect you from the others. But there is a massive mathematical problem with physical grooming. How do you maintain these bonds when your group becomes too large for everyone to touch each other? Anthropologist Robin Dunbar offers a fascinating explanation for this evolutionary puzzle. He studied the intricate relationship between primate brain size and social networks. He looked closely at the neocortex. This is the outer part of the brain responsible for complex thought and language processing. Dunbar discovered a direct mathematical correlation between the size of a primate's neocortex and the maximum number of social connections that individual can maintain. For modern human beings, this absolute limit is roughly 150 people. This number is now known universally as Dunbar's number. As your ancestral groups grew larger to defend against predators, they quickly approached this biological limit. Physical grooming simply took too much time out of the day. You cannot spend 10 hours a day picking dirt out of the hair of 100 different people. You would starve to death. You would not have any time left to hunt or forage for roots. Dunbar suggests that laughter evolved to solve this exact logistical problem. It became a highly efficient form of vocal grooming. How else could you simultaneously bond with a dozen people before the sun goes down? Laughter allows you to groom multiple people from a safe distance. You do not need to physically touch them. You just need them to hear your voice. The physical act of laughing triggers the exact same endorphin release as a physical massage. Your diaphragm spasms violently. Your chest muscles contract and expand. This physical exertion releases a massive flood of endogenous opioids directly into your bloodstream. Your ancestors sat around the fire and shared these rhythmic vocalizations to flood their brains with social glue. This chemical reward system makes you feel incredibly safe. It makes you feel deeply connected to your tribe. It literally numbs physical discomfort. Have you ever noticed how physical pain actually hurts significantly less when you are laughing uncontrollably with your friends? The origins of this strange reflex stretch back much further than human history. It is older than the oldest carved stone tool. It is older than the discovery of fire. Psychobiologist Jake Panksepp traced this exact biological response deep into the ancient mammalian family tree. He meticulously studied the playful wrestling behaviors of young rats inside his laboratory. He noticed that the rats were highly active and constantly engaged in rough physical play. But rats are generally quiet creatures to the human ear. Panksepp decided to listen much closer. He used highly sensitive audio equipment capable of picking up frequencies far beyond human hearing. He discovered that when rats play and tickle each other, they emit high-frequency ultrasonic chirps. They are laughing. What does a tiny rat's ultrasonic chirp have to do with your loud human laughter? It proves that this neurological mechanism is unimaginably ancient. It is a biological signal of pure play that predates humanity by tens of millions of years. When your ancient ancestors wrestled and played in the dirt, they desperately needed a way to communicate intent. They needed a way to show that a sudden bite or a hard shove was not an actual attack. Without a clear signal for play, a friendly wrestling match could instantly escalate into a deadly fight to the death. The heavy, rhythmic panting sound of rough mammalian play eventually evolved. It evolved into the distinct and rhythmic barking sound you recognize today. It became a universal broadcast of non-aggression. Why do you still laugh so hard and helplessly when someone tickles your ribs? Tickling targets the most physically vulnerable areas of your human body. Your neck, your armpits, and your soft stomach are prime targets for a lethal predator. A bite to the neck ends your life instantly. When someone suddenly reaches out and tickles you, your ancient brain registers a sudden and severe physical threat. Your automatic fight or flight response is immediately triggered. Adrenaline spikes in your blood. But a fraction of a second later, your higher brain recognizes the attacker. It is not a leopard. It is a trusted friend or a family member. The conflict between the primal panic and the sudden realization of safety creates massive neurological tension. Your body violently releases this pent-up tension through helpless, uncontrollable laughter. You are panting to signal that you know you are playing. Does your brain still confuse a playful touch with a deadly attack? Neuroscientist V.S. Ramachandran expands on this idea with his fascinating false alarm theory. He suggests that laughter is nature's clever way of canceling an emergency broadcast. You see someone slip and fall hard on the solid ground. Your brain instantly registers a severe anomaly. Someone is hurt. The tribe is weakened. This is a crisis. But then the person sits up. They are completely unharmed. They smile. The crisis has evaporated. You burst into loud laughter. You are broadcasting an all-clear signal to everyone in earshot. You are saving the rest of the tribe from wasting valuable physical energy running to the rescue. Laughter is an evolutionary siren that signals the absolute absence of danger. You think laughter is always a beautiful sign of joy. You believe it universally represents happiness, warmth, and genuine human connection. You think it is a purely positive emotion. But this ancient biological function possesses a deeply dark and terrifying edge. Laughter is not just a tool for building connection. It is a powerful evolutionary weapon used for division. When your ancestors laughed together at an outsider, they signaled brutal social exclusion. They were drawing an invisible line in the sand. We are on the inside. You are on the outside. Why does being mocked or laughed at by a group feel like a devastating physical attack? Your brain processes severe social rejection in the exact same neural pathways as severe physical pain. To be excluded from the ancient tribe meant certain death in the dangerous wilderness. You cannot survive alone out there. Shared, directed laughter unites the in-group by clearly and ruthlessly defining who belongs and who does not. A synchronized group laugh is a massive display of unified strength. It is a loud declaration of political alliances. When you laugh at someone else's mistake, you are reinforcing your own social status. You are confirming that you are safe within the protection of the herd. Do you laugh at others just to protect your own fragile place within the group? Consider the extensive research of anthropologist Polly Wiesner. She spent decades carefully studying the Jew/Hoansi Bushmen of the Kalahari Desert. She spent countless nights sitting quietly around their campfires. She meticulously recorded what they talked about during the hot day and what they talked about at night. During the day, conversations were strictly practical. They talked about finding food. They talked about hunting strategies. They complained about the blistering heat. But at night, the warm firelight changed everything. The fire provided safety from prowling predators. It artificially extended the length of the day. Wiesner discovered that over 80% of campfire conversations were dedicated entirely to storytelling. And these stories were filled with constant laughter. They used laughter to gently enforce social norms. If someone was being too greedy or too arrogant, the group would gently mock them through stories and shared laughter. It was a highly effective, non-violent way to keep the tribe completely egalitarian. It prevented anyone from becoming a violent dictator. Laughter was the great social equalizer. So let us reconstruct a day in the life of your ancient ancestors. You can see the dust rising from the dry earth. The sun finally drops below the jagged, mountainous horizon. The oppressive heat of the long day begins to rapidly cool. Your tribe gathers closely around the crackling warmth of a small, carefully tended fire. The hunt today was long. It was physically exhausting. It was incredibly dangerous. You were stalked by an aggressive pack of hyenas. You barely found enough roots to feed the crying children. Tensions vibrate through the silent group like a tautly pulled bowstring. Everyone is hungry. Everyone is tired. Muscles ache. Tempers are dangerously short. Will the stress of this terrible day finally tear your fragile community apart? A young, inexperienced hunter stands up to throw another branch on the fire. He trips over a heavy, unseen log in the dark. He aggressively spills an entire armful of gathered firewood directly onto the sleeping dogs. The sudden, chaotic noise causes everyone to jump violently. Hands instinctively reach for sharp stone tools. For a split second, the collective panic is absolute. The group considers violently attacking him for his dangerous, life-threatening clumsiness. He has disturbed the peace. He has startled the paranoid elders. The young hunter freezes in absolute terror. He knows his life is on the line. The tribal elder stares at the young hunter with piercing, unforgiving eyes. The silence is deafening. Then, the elder's chest heaves. He makes a sharp, rhythmic exhalation. He barks loudly into the night air. The thick, suffocating tension instantly shatters into a million pieces. You quickly join in the rising chorus of loud barking sounds. The entire tribe is howling at the sky. The immediate danger of internal violence has completely passed. The young hunter breathes a massive sigh of relief. He is safe from violent exile. The tribe remains perfectly united against the infinite darkness waiting just beyond the flickering firelight. You are physically exhausted to your very bones, but the massive flood of internal endorphins makes your tense muscles finally relax. You feel safe. You feel love. You feel like you belong here in this circle. How many times has this incredibly simple, thoughtless vocalization saved your life? Your modern world has completely hijacked this ancient, desperate survival tool. You no longer sit around a communal fire in the dangerous wilderness. You sit completely alone in a dark, climate-controlled room. You stare blankly at a glowing, rectangular screen. You watch a total stranger perform a carefully scripted joke written by a team of professional writers. And you bark loudly into the empty, silent air of your living room. Your brain does not know the fundamental difference between a flat television screen and a real person standing in front of you. Your primitive neurology truly thinks you are actively bonding with a vast, powerful tribe of invisible people. You feel a completely unearned sense of social connection. Are you truly connecting with your fellow humans? Or are you just efficiently tricking your ancient nervous system with flashing pixels? You laugh when you are incredibly nervous. You laugh when you are absolutely terrified. You laugh in awkward situations to show the potentially dangerous world that you are not a physical threat to anyone around you. You laugh to survive. The strange, barking sound you make is a direct biological echo of a dangerous prehistoric savanna. Deep inside your chest, a sudden, uncontrollable spasm reminds you that you are not a solitary creature. It reminds you that you have survived another long day.